over under on the point totals. I took the over, you took the under, even though your game score predicted the over. But that's the humor there. So I was right in that we did the
Yes,
over.
I was told there would be no math.
Welcome to My Gotta Podcast. I'm Jim Wood. In this episode, my co-host John Powell and I review Georgia's 49-14 win over Missouri. While we were already aware of the Vanderbilt cancellation at the time of recording, we did our best to only review Missouri. But eventually, the Vandy talk did creep in. As always, remember you can follow us on social media at My Gotta Podcast. And if you like what you hear, please subscribe, rate, 5 stars obviously, and review the show. If you leave us a review, you just might hear it on an upcoming episode. Now, let's join the conversation in progress. I guess I would say for Missouri, it was a tale of two halves on what happened in the field, even though, we played two halves for sure this game, I would say, right?
For sure.
I would say that was probably our most complete performance of the year, or I guess most consistent performance throughout a game. And there was that kind of second quarter lull and then revival late in the first half, and then just sheer domination in the second half.
Yeah, I would say that it was everything that we kind of talked through. One of the big things that I took away from it was that how, not to toot our own horn or take a victory lap or whatever, but I feel like a lot of the points that we brought up in the preview ended up panning out. So we basically, from an offensive standpoint, we stuck with what works. And then when it didn't work, we switched to something else that would potentially work, and it worked, and we stuck with it. And basically Missouri was on their heels the entire game.
Yeah, it was awesome. It really was awesome. I had kind of a panic moment late in the first half, and we'll get to that. Let me run through our picks, and I've got a funny anecdote about our picks too as I run through those. So will we play the game? Yes, we were both right there.
Sweet.
Roundtree over under on his season average of 104. We both took the under, and he was way under 16 rushing yards for Larry Roundtree.
If you'd have told me that he was going to have 16 rushing yards, I would have told you were crazy. That's even outperforming my own expectations, and just showcases how built this team is to shut down the run. Because we've done it multiple times this season. Unfortunately, the SEC is now the Big 12, where everybody's just fun and gun all day long.
Well, and then it was also a bit of a welcome back Jordan Davis, I would say, too, right? I don't think that happens without him there.
Cheers. So. Cheers to you, Mr. Davis.
Okay, this is my funny thing. Basilak over under 0.5 interceptions. I actually tweeted out from the podcast account when he threw the pick that I tagged myself, which is always kind of weird when I'm tweeting from the podcast account, but whatever, that I hit the over on the second play of the game. The funny thing is you picked the over and I took the under.
I was just about to say, I felt a little cheated, but
yes, totally.
You
should have called me out.
It's all good. It's all good.
It was so funny because I was, because I write all these things down and I go back and write down the actual, and I went and wrote the actual. I saw that you had taken the over and I'd taken the under, and I was like, well, that can't be right. And I crossed it out and rewrote it. And then I was like, well, hold on a second. And so I opened up Apple Podcasts on my phone, listened back, and was like, oh my gosh. I found the spot in the episode. I was like, oh man, John, what? That's not what I remember. So it's a good thing we have recorded record of this. Otherwise,
it was like the third play of the game or something like that, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. Second play of the game.
Second play of the game. Yeah, dude. Yep. I told you that we were going to take it away from him, and in fact, we should have had more.
Yeah.
We had some dropsies.
So I'll go through the other random ones. Leading receiver. I actually got that one, so that was the only one that I got right that you didn't. You had Burton. Over under on the point totals. I took the over, you took the under, even though your game score predicted the over. That's the humor there. So I was right in that we took the over.
I was told there would be no math.
And then I like this one. I was actually following along for it. I didn't ever hear it though. So over under 0.5 App State mentions in relation to Drinkwitz. And I took the over, you took the under, and I didn't hear any. So I think you were right.
I think I was right. I took the
Yeah.
under.
So as far as I know, as far as from my viewing on my couch, I didn't hear it.
I did not watch the replay. As you know, we had a little overnight date night situation in Atlanta with the wife and another couple of friends of ours. And so the next day I somehow avoided all activity on the game and did not spoil it at all. But I still had my phone with me, which was weird. So I got back.
I wasn't hearing anything from you, and I did send you the wellness check text at halftime. I was like, "You alive? Wellness check, making sure everything's okay."
Yeah, because I hadn't texted you, or we didn't have our usual game day back and forth. So I was able to watch it completely unspoiled, and with the exception of my wife, who bless her heart, it was that when you did the wellness check, it was probably a good call, because I was definitely in a WTF mode. I was Munsoning hardcore when they blocked the punt.
Yes.
Right at the end of the half. But then we went down and scored, and then all of a sudden my wife was like, "Yeah, it doesn't end up nearly as bad, or calm down. It doesn't end up this way." And so she kind of let it slip a little bit, but I had no idea what was in store for the second half beatdown that was about to commence.
Yeah, so 49-14. So you were really close here. So I was, with my Munsoning, I had a 38-31 score. I thought it was going to be a shootout. So I was clearly wrong and happy to be wrong. You were really close, man. You had 44-17. So you were like right there. That was nice.
Yeah. Go me.
Right, yeah. I would say, like, I can't believe I was munching over it, but I guess my only defense of myself would be I did not believe Kirby Smart saying that Jordan Davis was going to play, and I think he made a huge impact. So
the kid's a monster, dude. Like,
yeah,
I can't even say enough about that guy. He whenever he's in the game, he completely changes things.
Right. And I mean, I don't know. I guess like the way the game was flowing, like, and we jump out to that early lead, then get the pick, then an all running drive with 0 passes, and then I can't even remember if they got any first. I think they may have got a first down or two on their second drive, but then we the ball back, go right back down and score again, and then the game did really it really turned on the trick play, right, on the double pass that they had.
Mm-hmm.
Because when that happened, they score a couple plays later on the Basilak, like kind of QB draw or zone read, whatever it was. And then, like, I think our next drive, they were really started blitzing, couldn't make much happen. And like the offense felt completely different. And that was so at that point, then I'm starting to get worried about, we don't have Trey Hill in the game. Our offensive line can't handle this. We weren't giving time for Daniels to throw. And so the offense did really stall there, and so that's where my Munson came in. And I think this is around the time where you were saying like you were freaking out as well. So, and then obviously the muff punt or the drop punt by Jackson that happens. Then like 3 and out, and then the block punt. And then I felt like it was like disaster. I was totally freaking out.
So we jumped out obviously 14-7, and we looked okay. We looked pretty solid, but then we went, and both teams kind of crapped the bed for what, like looks like it was about 10 minutes or so. Well, mm-hmm. 10 plus minutes. It was punt, fumble. Missouri fumbled it, and then we went 3 plays immediately after that and had to punt. And that's when they got the block, and then they had a 1 yard. And so So I guess it was here. It was the play right before this. So they blocked the punt, and Kirby Smart called a timeout.
Yeah.
So to me, like listening to him talk about this on the press conference post game, or whether it was, I can't remember where it was, but he mentioned, I saw the video of it. He mentioned that his assistants and his analysts were in his ear talking about it, and it was weird because he was almost like, patting himself on the back kind of thing verbally. And it was like one of those things, like, we've made the kind of comparison of, the Crown or whatever, where he like basically tells everybody what he's thinking. And it was basically, him giving himself and his staff, kudos for doing such a good clock management situation where they called a timeout so that they could save time for the offense, because they knew that they were probably going to score on a 1-yard drive, and they were just trying to give the team time. And then we got the ball back, and we took 6 plays, 43 seconds, and we scored a touchdown. And all of a sudden we were back on top, and we got the ball back and scored another touchdown. And to me, that was where the game turned. Was like, yes, we had a bad punt, but our coaching staff coached us into a situation where we could win. And I thought that was really promising, and just kind of highlights some of the, chess match situations that go on during the game that the average fan probably doesn't realize.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And like right there in that sequence, after they score, then they kick off to us at 14 all. Right after that, it still didn't feel good, right? Like first 2 plays netted 0 yards, so we're sitting there at 3rd and 10. The pass rush had been really coming on, and I feel like that the 3rd and 10 play to me was kind of that to me was the play of the game, and that was the
That's
play where
that's the outplay
Daniels
to Kyrus, right?
to Kearis Jackson, right? So they've moved. So we've been having all this problem dealing with the pressure. Daniels has been sacked. We've got batted balls. They moved the pocket. Rolled out Daniels to the right and hit Jackson on that out route for the first down. And then after that, everything just clicked, and like it never stopped clicking. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that was a huge play.
Yeah, I agree. And that, you mentioned that we, and just, hats off to the coaching staff, because like I said, there were multiple situations. Like, we obviously made some second half adjustments on the defensive side of the ball. I haven't heard or seen anything about like what, they saw or changed or whatever, or if it was just that we jumped out after the halftime and we jumped out to a 35-14 lead, and that just put Missouri into a situation where they had to do some different things on their offensive side of the ball, which played right into us
Yep.
capitalizing. But the I don't know, it just seems like we had really good coaching all around, and it just seemed like that we out coached them and we out talented them, and frankly outlasted them. You have to
Yep.
be honest with the situation that they were just completely outmanned along the lines, and just overall personnel. They just had less players than us. And I kind of figured that would play into it. Like, when it was halftime, I started thinking to myself, I mean, at some point these kids are going to get really tired, and it's probably going to show the talent over. We'll out talent them at some point, but we also had a good coaching as well. So like seeing Daniels roll out, and I was watching it during the game, and I just kept thinking, like, holy crap, guys, they keep bringing the house every single time, and it was just totally shutting down Daniels. So like,
Yeah.
if you can, it kind of makes me worried for the future if we come up against a team like, an Alabama or, Clemson next year, the beginning of the game or the beginning of the season or whatever. But if you really want to shut Daniels down, like, bringing the house is a good way to start doing that, because he did not do well with the pressure, and our line didn't do well with the pressure initially. And then we made some changes. We started moving him out of the pocket. We had a quick slant. That was one of the Pickens touchdown, where we had a quick slant where
Yeah.
he noticed that they were isolated. They had Pickens isolated out wide, and he checked in from a run play to a pass play, and just hit Pickens on a slant. So to me, that was just good coaching, just overall, and the overall approach. Like you said, moving the pocket, that to me was just impressive.
Yeah, and like while I was freaking out, like as we were approaching the half there. I guess what I was trying to tell myself to calm down was that, what Missouri had done was all the result of two plays. So basically, the double pass, the trick play, which I know, like I watched Battle Hymnal last week, and they talked about that there was going to be a trick play coming. I guess they usually run a flea flicker. This wasn't a flea flicker, but they did do something wonky. So I guess they usually do that. So that's kind of disappointing. But outside of that one play, so you have that, and then the block punt, and that was what generated all of their points. They weren't able to sustain anything. It was probably those two big plays that kind of made me feel better, kind of get out of my munching. And then obviously once we had that 2-for-1, scoring to end the first half and then right away to begin the second half, I obviously felt a lot better. Although, am I getting this right? I think it was, yeah. So those two touchdowns were Pickens back to back, right? So the first one was the end of the first half. That was the one to Pickens where he dove and caught it. And then the first touchdown of the third quarter was the slant to Pickens, where I did think he was going to pull a hamstring or break something when he was galloping and then slipped on the track. So that scared me. I was like, be careful.
Yeah, seriously. Why are you galloping?
That was weird. Oh, and then did you notice that and someone tweeted about this, but I know if you were watching it on delay, so you may not have seen this going through Twitter. Did you see when Pickens was wearing someone else's helmet at one point? He was wearing, I think, Matt Lander's helmet because his helmet had number 5 on it. And there's a play where before the play they zoomed in on Pickens, and he had the colors I guess don't matter, but he had a white mouthpiece in his mouth and then a red mouthpiece hanging off his face mask or vice versa or whatever. He had just there was a mouthpiece attached to the face mask of his helmet that but he had another mouthpiece in his mouth. It's so weird. So yeah, he apparently grabbed the wrong helmet at one point. So I don't know. That was kind of funny.
That's so funny. I'm sure he'll be hearing about that. They will never let him live that one down. I'm sure if he grabbed the wrong helmet.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. So there's that. But man, the running backs. I mean, we are definitely living up to running back U still. 4 backs with the rushing TD. Cook also had a passing or receiving touchdowns. Zeus and Dejon Edwards both over 100 yards. And Edwards looked really good,
dude,
when he got his time second half.
We could almost do an entire podcast on my feelings for Mr. Dejon Edwards because that is the kid just looks like the reincarnation of Nick Chubb. I feel like that when he gets another season and a half, 2 seasons, whatever under his belt with our strength and conditioning staff, that kid's going to be a handful. He is going to be a major problem for SEC defenses.
Yeah. He and it kind of reminds me too of McIntosh last year, right? So last year, McIntosh didn't get a whole lot of playing time, but when he got in, he looked really good, and he was probably third or fourth string last year, right? I don't know, man. The future is bright. We'll see if everyone is back next year, and we can kind of talk about that when we recap the season, I guess. But someone would have to leave early between Zeus or Cook, to not have all those guys back, but then add Kendall Milton into the mix as well. And future is bright at tailback for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely stacked at the running back position for the foreseeable future, unless, like you said, unless someone decides that they need to jump early. But that's definitely a position that I'm not worried about if someone jumps early, because there's definitely talented players behind them. I was kind of disappointed. I don't think Kendall Milton got a snap, right? Even though he
didn't. No, they said he was Kirby said that he was 85%, 85 to 90%, and could have played if we needed him to, but we did not need him to. So
yeah, well, clearly we didn't need him to. You basically every time we lined up to snap the ball, whether it was a run or a pass, we were guaranteed at least 7 yards. I mean, we averaged 7 yards a rush and 11 yards per pass attempt. So, I mean, that just adds up to an absolute, like, take you behind the woodshed and just beat you around a little bit.
Yeah. And I mean, like, and it was the exact opposite on the other side of the ball. And something that we did talk about in the preview, what I was saying that I wanted to see was, shutting down the run to the point that if you can get the other team to the point where they have 3rd and 2 and they have no confidence that they can hand it off to the tailback and get the first down, like that's when you've won, right? And I actually, so my text, I was like overly texting with my dad. So my dad and I were texting nonstop all game. I was able to focus on texting with my dad a little bit more. So I wasn't texting you throughout the whole game too.
Nice.
And like I think I actually there was a moment where they did still run the ball, but there was a moment where it was like a 3rd and 2, and they didn't hand off to Roundtree. Like they did some kind of jet sweep or something, and we totally snuffed that out as well. We just threw him for a loss. I was like, that's what I'm talking about. Like when you don't have, you've got Roundtree, who's one of the top backs in the SEC, had like 150 yards the last 2 games, plus. And they had no confidence to just hand the ball off to him and get a first down on 3rd and short. And that's what I love to see. I mean, when you can do that on defense, it's just, I don't know, that's a beautiful thing. And again, I think Jordan Davis plays a huge part in that.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that assessment for sure. It just looked like that their will just got completely once we jumped up after halftime, I feel like that we kind of broke them. And then when they got their next possession after we had jumped up 14 points, they had to punt it away. I feel like that, and then we went down and scored. So like, we basically broke their will, which plays right into Kirby. I mean, we ran them down. I mean, 316 yards rushing is just absolutely just. That's just.
Hey, that's up there with what I was looking for, because you were like, would 170 be enough? And I was like, I want more. That was nice. I guess the only other thing with the offense I would say was, like for you, I'm sure you jumped and got excited when we saw some tight end passes.
Yeah, it was like we almost saw like a complete series of nothing but tight end passes. Not only that, but we also had like a couple of plays, I think, where it was 2 tight ends in the game. We had McKitty and Darnell Washington out going down for passes, which I thought was really, really interesting. So I don't know if they were maybe trying to throw out there that we can absolutely play with the tight end, Mr. Arik Gilbert. Come on home to Athens, sir. But we've been basically begging for this all season long. And I think Graham Coffey mentioned it, that, if we were ever into a situation where we needed a Hail Mary ball, you basically have to have Darnell Washington out there because of his athletic ability. 6'5", just a mountain of a man. And he proved that he can go out and get it and catch the ball. And I really, really hope that, that he and Daniels and Munkin can start getting him some more opportunities so that he can be like the Kyle Pitts for the University of Georgia, which, it is kind of interesting if you look at the comparisons between him and Pitts. Pitts, his freshman year, had kind of a similar stat line. Like he didn't really get thrown the ball. He didn't really have too many opportunities last year. And then all of a sudden this year, he just had a breakout year. So I'm hoping, because we can all see the talent that he has, the skill sets that he has in his arsenal, and I think he's had a better season or similar-ish season to Pitts.
It's similar, yeah.
So
I don't have it in front of me or anything, but I saw it on Twitter, so it's definitely true. Recently, someone had compared their stats, and they were very, very similar. Their freshman year stats, they're very similar. Okay, so I also, and I tweeted this out, like the only game that we didn't have a prediction in the preview episode of over under 1.5 quarterbacks, and we saw 3. So I guess if you had taken the over, you still would have gotten it right there if we had said that. But I didn't see that coming. I did not anticipate 3 quarterbacks in a game. Would have liked to see Beck at least get a pass attempt, but that's okay.
Yeah, seriously.
At least got him in the game, and I think that's just that's Kirby not wanting to run it up, so that's okay.
Yeah, no, if you'd have told me that Carson Beck was going to take snaps in this game, I probably would have told you were crazy. So,
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm glad that they rewarded him. I imagine that to a certain degree, that was probably a reward because they knew that they probably, or at least they had their suspicions that they might not be playing Vanderbilt the next week. But basically, taking the opportunity to clear the benches, again, which is nice. It's basically been something that I've been hoping for and praying for every single game because we just don't have that many opportunities to get these guys experience that need to get experience. You got Cedric Van Pran coming up on the offensive line. He's going to have to take over at center, which, looking ahead, I'm hearing that he's kind of like a Jordan Davis type person for the future for the offense. So that's encouraging. So getting guys like him, getting guys like Beck, getting guys that are further down the pecking order on the wide receiver side of things, because as we've seen, when we don't have as much experience at the wide receiver position, we tend to struggle offensively. So, the more snaps that we can get those guys on both sides of the ball, the better.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just looking at my notes. I think we actually already talked about all the defensive things that I had jotted down just because they were so dominant. Oh, you know what? The one thing, this is something my dad said to me when I talked to my dad. I think I saw this on Twitter somewhere too. Like the defense. So after, like I said earlier, like the 14 points kind of came off of 2 plays. But after the Roundtree touchdown, like he was all up in like our lineman's face, like taunting them and, I don't know, talking a little trash to them. And then they did absolutely nothing after that. So I don't know if he like lit a fire in them or what, but it was getting a little chippy. And I think we kind of shut the whole team up after that. I don't know if you noticed that.
I didn't notice that. I did not notice that. But what I do know is that they probably all got, a talking to, shall we say, from the coaching staff at the halftime. And, obviously he didn't do anything after that. So whatever.
Yeah. This was, halftime adjustments, I would say probably won the game. I mean, we, turned it like that one play we talked about, the QS Jackson, huge play, momentum changer. And then just to be able to keep it up all through the second half. It was fun. It was fun to watch. It was a lot of fun in the second half.
Yeah, I don't know. Like you said earlier, it really came down to 2 plays. Like they basically had a busted coverage play and they had a block punt, and that was really it. I mean, there was like little fits and spurts here and there. I was actually going to go back and try to look. I'm not going to do it, but I can't imagine like if we were to pull up like the ESPN like game analysis or whatever. Like, did they ever like threaten to score? It's kind of what I was wondering.
In the second half?
Yeah, like when you look at like the play charts or whatever, where they got this far and they punted it and then they go back and forth. Like, did they ever like even get within scoring distance of us?
After halftime, I've got all the drive charts. It looks like they crossed midfield once in the second half.
That's what I was saying. Like, I don't think that they even crossed midfield.
Yeah. I think, so they punted from R47 on their first drive in the second half. And that was the furthest they got.
Yeah, which is crazy because you look at like the win probability and it's like, 80, 90%. And then all of a sudden we had the block punt. And then even then it goes down to like 71% or something like that win probability after the block punt. And then we went and scored at the beginning of the second half and it immediately jumps up to 100% and never leaves and never changes. Like,
yeah.
The game was never in doubt at all.
Yeah. It was kind of fluky how they got in it, which again, I did not see coming. You did. I did not see that coming. I was very pleased though. Like when I'm worried like that and then we end up blowing them out, that's quite enjoyable. I was like having a blast in the second half. That was a lot of fun.
It was fun.
Was this though the worst special teams game for us?
I was waiting for you to get to it, and I think did we cover? Oh, the only other thing that I wanted to mention on defense is that I imagine that there is an offensive coordinator by the name of Steve Sarkisian and or Dan Mullen and or I don't remember his Ole Miss on the season. Anyway, Lane Kiffin. If you're an offensive minded coach, you probably have watched Lewis Seen bite on that play. And I imagine as we look forward to to him and his development as well as like scheming against our defense, I imagine that we will probably see some sort of similar play like that, similar formation, etc. Where they try to get him to bite on a similar play and bust one for a big gain, because I mean he bit hard on that play.
He did.
And
he really came in.
even if like the wide receiver like hesitated or like bobbled the ball or had to wait longer, like there's no way he was going to get there. So like I don't know what he was thinking. Like I really don't know what he was thinking.
I mean, I know I have a much better vantage point of the field on TV than he does from the secondary. But like the second the ball left Bazelak's hand, I was like, double pass, double pass, double pass, just like screaming at the TV. And then it happened and he was open, which I mean, if it was a good throw, although I think that was actually Chisholm who you had said to laugh for. He was the guy that threw it.
He was,
so you underthrow, but again, he's a receiver. So we'll cut him some slack. That's totally fine. If it had been a perfect throw, it would have been an easy touchdown. I mean, they scored, one or two plays later anyway. So, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then let's see. The defensive side, we talked about that. I think that was everything that I had from a notes perspective on the defensive side. I mean, there's not much you can say when they can't get past the midfield. They're left scoreless in the second half. I mean, there's pretty much everything that you could ask for from the defensive side of things transpired.
Yeah, I mean, it was so good. It's like, I don't know what else to say about it.
Yep.
Kind of deal. I don't know. But yeah, so for the special teams, I was trying to think if we'd had a worse game this year. And again, second half, things were cleared up and everything was fine. But we had, well, not totally. We had the missed field goal. But so in the first half, you had, the drop punt, which I don't know if like it hung in the wind weird, because it clearly went further than Jackson anticipated it to, because it was like he ran up and then it hit right by his helmet. He kind of had to put his hands up. So I don't know. I was all worried about the weather. Obviously didn't seem to be a huge factor, but so I don't know if that was wind or what the deal was with that. But
I thought
that wasn't good, but at least we fell on it.
I thought it looked like I thought it kind of looked more like he had taken his eyes off the ball and was looking ahead, and instead of focusing on catching the ball, he just ran too far up and was trying to bust a move. I really don't know what he was thinking in that situation, but ill-advised to say the least. But I mean, it really was bad. Like, I mean, obviously we missed the field goal, which, holy cow, like, I don't know, man.
Kevin Butler says he knows why he missed it.
He knows why he missed it.
I don't know why, and I don't know if there was no Bulldog brunch this week. I didn't try to listen live, and it was not released via the Bulldog podcast today. So this is not a Bulldog brunch tidbit, but it was on Twitter. Kevin Butler tweeted something to the effect that he knows why Jack Pod missed that field goal. So I don't know why. I think Butler continues to like subtly hint that Kirby needs to hire him back, that he could like help all the kickers. I think it was one of those things.
Dude, seriously. I mean, I kind of wish that they had never let him go, but I don't know that they necessarily let him go, but throw all the money at him, because every time he, when he came and was coaching, wasn't he here for a couple of seasons?
Yeah, I think it was 16 and 17.
Yeah, dude, like 17. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, he basically, he helped mold Rodrigo into what he is now. Which, by the way, holy cow, Rodrigo Blankenship in the NFL is like incredible. He set the rookie points scored record all time for the Colts. So
Yeah.
he's having a heck of a season.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyways, I digress. But yeah, I did go back and look at the blocked punt, and I mean, they were definitely coming after it, and I don't know that we so much expected them to do that, but like the little punt protection unit, like they messed up. Like so, it was like Ojulari and Herring are next to each other, and they both took the same guy. I think basically like Ojulari, I think took the wrong guy, or I don't know. They kind of the way the guy kind of stunted, I guess. But anyways, one guy went. If you're looking overhead, went left. I know Ojulari was on the left, and then this other guy went to the right, and that's where Herring was, and they both blocked that one guy, and then that second guy came free. So I mean, he had a free run to the punter, like no one touched him.
Yeah, dude. I mean, he was completely unblocked. Yeah, I thought they had a couple of guys that looked like they could have blocked it, but
that's the other thing I'm looking at too. Like even if Ojulari slid out to the left and took that guy, I do feel like someone else would have made it through. I mean, it was they. I feel like had more guys coming than we had there to protect. So I don't know if we had the wrong protection called or something there. I don't know. I'm still like old man getting used to the I call it new, even though it's many years old now. The way we line up for punts now with the three guys back. You know, like when we were in school, it was just a line. You know, like I'm trying to remember when that changed. It was probably about 10, 15 years ago that changed. But
yeah, anyways. I don't really understand it. Although when you have three guys that are back, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that just gives more free reign for someone to come after you in a situation like that, because you have less risk, because you know that no matter what happens, you're going to get a pretty decent field position. So like, why not just go all out? The only reason that I could foresee someone wanting to do something like that is to run like a rugby style kick, like LSU has done, you know, historically. But we don't ever do that. We don't ever jog someone, you know, where they run left or right for a little bit. And like, I actually really like that style, because if you can run it right, it's almost like a free. I think Auburn does it too, don't they? Where it's like you run them out to the left or the right, and then you basically can decide if you want to punt it or fake it. Because if they don't cover you, then you basically have a free run. It's almost like a free attempt to go for a quick conversion or whatever. But like, we don't ever do that.
Yeah.
So like, that's the only.
I don't know.
That's the only caveat.
Someone at some point decided that was the correct formation to use for punting, and now everyone does it. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about at all. So, but I don't know. It's weird. Yeah, those were the only special teams notes I had. So I don't know. I guess clean that up. I guess Camardo just didn't punt much, though. Well, really think about it. I mean, in the first half, I guess, but he didn't shank any. I don't know. And I actually did not pay like super close attention whether he was always punting to the right, as we like to look for. But I didn't notice any bad punts or anything. So,
right.
I mean, I don't know. Absolute beatdown. It was amazing. It was fun to watch. And then some weird things happened over the weekend as well, which I don't know if you want to talk about that yet, but I know we were watching Florida Saturday night. and that's where like, I mean, it's so perfect with like, who throws a shoe? Honestly,
who throws a shoe? Oh man, the memes that happened after that game are just so funny. And you know, I took a little bit of flack from my buddy Zach from church, who was like, "Oh yeah, you guys are just enjoying, you know, not getting to the SEC championship again." I'm like, dude, you guys have been giving us hell for the last 40 years, no matter what we do. Like, much less the fact that you haven't been to the SEC championship in over a decade. So enjoy it. And you know what? I'm going to enjoy the fact that y'all threw away your season.
I mean, I've never seen anything like it. The craziest thing to me too, and I'll give, we've talked about him before, you know, Kendall Milton's dad, Father Ballers. So I don't know if you saw what he said on Twitter about it. I think it was like it was either the next day or day after. I thought it was really cool. Like he pointed out like the difference between the way Mullen is handling this as opposed to how Kirby reacted when George Pickens squirted the water bottle against Tennessee. Both
Hmm.
very silly things to do. What are you thinking? And how did Kirby react? He said, like I don't remember exactly what he said. He's like, what are we, 8 years old? Like, who does that? And he basically, said he couldn't believe he did it, that kind of thing. And whereas Mullen, have you seen his quote where he was like, he was just making a football move? It's like, what? He was not
Yeah, I
making a football
did.
move. I mean, maybe it was a football move when the shoe came off, but also just the way the ref announced the penalty was so descriptive that it was amazing. Like it reminded me of the scene in Necessary Roughness where the guy's like rattling off the styles of kicks that he's making. When he was like, unsportsmanlike, throwing the LSU player's shoe 20 yards down the field.
Yeah, he
That,
added he added
that
the
was amazing.
throwing it 20 yards down the field. I remember watching that and laughing out loud. Like, did he really just like call that guy out like that?
It was the best announcement of a penalty since the given the business call from many years ago.
For giving him the business.
Yeah.
That's
So
funny.
yeah. So I don't know. Um, I mean that not that you can put the entire game on that one play. I mean, there were so many things that went wrong, but a couple of things ended up happening. I would say Kyle Trask, I would say, is not in the Heisman running anymore after that game with the pick six and another pick. And then, I mean, their playoff hopes, I would say, I mean, even if they win, which they're not going to beat Alabama, but even if they did, I think they're done. So
Yeah, no, I mean, I really don't understand. I really don't understand why Mullen is the way he is. Like, it's like
yeah,
the office. Like, why are you the way you are? Like, Dan Mullen is the Toby of the SEC, and it is incredibly annoying and frustrating. He's just a buzz. He's just a buzzkill in every way, shape, or form. And you
uh,
know, Chance Dog, like, dude, that clown shirt, like, I'm gonna have to buy one of those things because Dan Mullen is an absolute clown.
well,
And if
you
this,
you retweeted his tweet, so you might win it. You're entered in the 7-6 giveaway. I saw that. So
so you're
yeah,
saying there's a chance.
there's a chance. Uh,
Which did you see, by the way?
well,
Speaking of, there's a chance. Did you see, like, after this weekend's games that there's a 1% chance that UGA could get into the college playoff?
there is. When we preview championship weekend, we're gonna go through the scenario. So
Okay.
there is a scenario. Um, and then I know, like when we went off on a Dan Mullen tangent, uh, many episodes ago at this point, one of your things that you didn't like was when he basically wanted Auburn to beat us, and he was like, War Eagle, like his weird voice or whatever. Which
Mm-hmm.
that's my segue to, and then Gus Malzahn got fired, which I did not see coming. I was pretty surprised. I mean, I know they didn't have a great season, but I wasn't prepared for that either.
I was pretty shocked, mostly because the guy has an absolutely asinine buyout. Um, and
Yeah,
so, like, to your point, like, I mean, I guess that they just kind of decided that enough was enough. And I think that it was somebody pointed it out in the aftermath of that whole situation that, I guess that there are a handful of boosters at Auburn that control things and they don't know what they're doing. And more specifically, like, Auburn hasn't historically been like a big, SEC championship powerhouse. I think that they're just like trying to play
yeah,
catch up at this point. Like, they have a couple more SEC championships than like Ole Miss. So,
yep,
like, they
yeah,
just have historically, it's not an easy job. I mean, with the exception of Gene Chizik in the last, little bit here, he had that Ed Orgeron-esque season with a all-world quarterback, and then promptly threw it all in the trash, exactly like Ed Orgeron did this year. So
yeah.
I don't know. I think that they're in for a tough sell, which, are we transitioning to talking about the coaching carousel, or what are we doing here?
No, that was kind of well. I mean, we could a little bit. We'll have plenty of time to talk about other stuff. I mean, I would think Hugh Freeze has got to be their number one candidate. I would assume. Yeah, and we'll get into the coaching carousel probably. I don't know, in one of our upcoming episodes. I assume, but yeah, we could probably wrap it up. Great great game. I would say our most complete game of the season.
Yep. If you're
I don't
gonna
think anybody really wants to play Georgia at this point.
I figure we might as well just be honest. Like we all know that we're recording today. We sent the tweets out, so like everybody knows that we're recording right now. So like we might as well just come out with it. Like if you're going to end your season on end your regular season on a game, this is probably the way you want to go out, by kicking the pants off of a conference foe that has been a bit of a thorn in your side, frankly.
Yeah.
And just beat the absolute dog piss out of them. Like, I mean, seriously, we took them to the woodshed. It was like the culmination of everything we hoped that this season was, and frankly, it left you with a little bit of a bitter taste on like what might have been. Saw some folks today talking about, the fact that, we're not playing Vandy. So like, can we just have the SEC declare Alabama the SEC champion, and let's play Florida again and actually see who deserves to play the SEC championship? Because we're a different team with JT Daniels at the helm. And that is evidenced with dog stats. And I'll leave it at this. Like, you look at everything that dog stats put out about what happened before and after we made the switch to JT Daniels. Like, I mean, our explosiveness, our EPA, like all of the things that you look at from a key success metric standpoint are just so far and away better with JT Daniels as quarterback that it's almost like dang, what might have been this season had he been the quarterback for, frankly, the Alabama game, and frankly for the Florida game. Like if we had a competent quarterback at both of those games, or just even one of those games.
Alabama is playing, I would say they're playing a lot better now than they were back then too, right? So like, at that time, for sure. But certainly against Florida. I mean, we kept that game somehow magically close, like we talked about. Like if we get that pick six, we were down, 6 or 7 or whatever at that point, which seems crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like I definitely keep feeling that, but I mean, they say he wasn't ready. He says he wasn't ready. His family says he wasn't ready.
No. Yeah. All those things aside.
But if they were there. Yeah, for sure.
Like,
cool.
Yeah. I could keep talking about it, but like just the whole scenario. I mean, just taking it back, just rolling it back. Like it took Florida. Hang on a second, Jim. My dog is losing his mind outside.
No, it's the dog from waiting since last Saturday. You live next door to Scott?
Yeah. Scott, your dog's barking outside. Dude, I think about, like, you think about Florida. Like Florida, it took them, this is their best team. And they lost to a 3-5 LSU team that had less players than Mississippi State did against us. Yeah. And they have a Heisman quarterback that's having a season that I think like is statistically better than Burrow's season. And they still couldn't get it together to beat LSU. And it's just embarrassing, like, quite frankly, that Florida is so high up, and I just wish that we could go back in time and just smack them in the face.
Yeah. We'll just have to wait until next year.
We will. We'll have a full season, hopefully. Knock on your head, Jim.
Yep, knock on head. All right. Well, yeah. So cat out of the bag, right? I mean, yeah. So we know there will not be a Vanderbilt game. So there will not be a Vanderbilt preview this week. But we are going to put out another episode, and we're actually about to record it right now. We're doing all of our recording on Monday night. So we will have another episode for everyone to watch out for. There just won't be a Georgia game to talk about. So we'll be back late. We'll be back one more time this week.
Boo, SEC. Boo.
Yeah. All right, man. It's a great win. Go out on top of the end of the regular season. It looks like. No, I guess that's it.
Yes, sir. We'll talk about what's going on next, and go Dogs.
All right, go Dogs.